Listen, I've seen a lot of clothing brands struggle with pricing. Some price is too high and wonder why they're not getting sales. Others are too low and they can't stay profitable. Today, I want to break down exactly how to price your clothing line for maximum success. Now, before we dive into actual numbers, we need to understand something very crucial, like why people actually buy clothing, right? And here's what most brand owners get wrong. They think it's all about the product, but it's not. It's about what that product means to the customer. So through our work with a bunch of our members and clothing brand owners, we've identified 3 main reasons why people buy. And I call these the 3 pillars of clothing brand pricing. Easy. And understanding these will completely change how you think about pricing and how you will eventually end up charging for your products. So first up is status-based purchasing. Think about this. Why would anyone pay $500 for a Gucci t-shirt, right? When they could probably get something similar quality for $30. It's because they're not buying the shirt, they're buying the status, right? They're buying the ability to wear something that others can't easily afford, right? And we worked with several premium brands who understand this perfectly. One of our clients started positioning their basic tees at $85 instead of $35s. And their sales actually increased. And why is that? Because they weren't just selling t-shirts anymore, right? They were selling exclusivity. Now, the second pillar is aesthetic appeal, right? And this is where craftsmanship truly matters, right? When you're using premium materials, unique designs, or limited edition runs, you can actually charge higher prices for that. But you need to know how to do it just right. We had a client who was using organic cotton in their t-shirts, but pricing them as regular just cotton shirts. They were literally leaving money on the table because they didn't understand how to price based on quality. They were actually using GOTS organic recycled cotton on their shirts, which it warrants, right, that premium pricing. So once we help them adjust their pricing to reflect the true value of their materials, the craftsmanship, their profit margins improved by 40%. Now let's go to the third pillar, and this is my favorite. This is emotional connection. This is where brands like Supreme, Stussy, like they absolutely crush it, right? They're not just selling clothes, they're selling belonging, right? They're selling identity. Like I remember working with a skateboarding brand that was struggling with pricing until we helped them understand this concept, right? They weren't just competing with other t-shirt brands, they were creating a community, right? Once they aligned their pricing with this emotional value, making their product accessible to their core community while maintaining profitability, their sales actually took off. So here's the thing, your brand doesn't need to hit all 3 pillars. In fact, trying to do all 3 usually backfires. So what you need to do is identify which of these 3 pillars aligns best with your brand's identity and your target customer, right? Are you building a premium brand that offers status, or are you crafting high quality pieces that stand out for their aesthetic appeal, or are you creating a lifestyle brand that connects with a specific community? So once you know which pillar you're building your brand on, pricing is going to become much, much clearer. So it stops being about just converting costs and adding markup. It becomes about aligning your prices to the true value you're offering to your customers. Hey, before we move on, I just want to say my name is Christian. I'm one of the co-founders here at Bit Branding. We specialize in helping clothing brands scale online. We've served over 300 clothing brands in the last year alone, and I would appreciate a like and subscribe so that you do not miss any of our latest content. All right, let's get into a little bit of the nitty gritty, right? The actual numbers. So let's talk about what goes into your costs, right? Because this is where I see most clothing brands mess up. They look at maybe their production costs, right? And think that that's their only expense. That's a big, big mistake. So let me walk you through a real example using a premium t-shirt. Now, when you're getting started and you're maybe going through manufacturers, you're gonna get quotes from them, and they might tell you that to manufacture this shirt, it was gonna cost you $8 to produce each shirt. And that's great, but that's just literally the beginning, right? This is where you need to think like a CEO, not just a designer. So you've got operating expenses. Think about your Shopify subscription, your design software, maybe part-time help that you're hiring, right? When we break this down per unit, most small to medium brands, you're looking at about $3 to $4 per shirt. And I know that sounds high, but trust me, these costs will add up. Then there's marketing. Listen, I don't care how amazing your product is. If you're not marketing it, you're not selling it. For most successful clothing brands we work with, they're spending about $45 per unit on marketing. This includes your social media ads, influencer partnerships, email marketing, all of it. All of marketing, not just ads on Facebook. Now, shipping. This is where it gets interesting. Even if you're charging for shipping, you still need to factor in about $2 to $3 per unit for handling, right? Packaging materials, eating some of those shipping costs to stay competitive, right? So, you know those nice poly mailers you got with your brand name, your logo, they're fully colored? Yeah, those aren't free. So that, make sure you include it in. So let's add this up. $8 for production, $4 for operations, $5 for marketing, $3 for shipping and handling. We're at $20 total cost per unit. And I haven't even mentioned return rate, which you need to factor about 10 to 15%, right? Because usually 10 to 50% is what online clothing purchases get returned. Usually. This number is going to fluctuate for you. Now, a lot of people tend to look at that $20, right? And say, okay, I'll just double it up. I'll charge 40 for it, right? 100% markup. But hold up. After platform fees, payment processing, and those inevitable returns, you're gonna be barely making a profit. So this is why you see so many clothing brands struggle to scale, because their pricing strategy is just kind of built on hope, right? Rather than real numbers. So you're probably saying like, okay, Christian, so what should I charge? Well, that depends on which of those 3 pillars that we talked about earlier, which one of those you're actually building your brand on. But here's just a general rule of thumb we use for clients. Like, you take your total costs and multiply it by 2.5 to 3.5 for premium casual wear. So a shirt, or $20 shirt that we figured out here, you're looking at a retail price of about $50 to $70. And I know what you're thinking, I don't know what you're thinking. That's expensive for a t-shirt. But remember, we're not just selling the fabric here, we're selling your brand, your design, your customer experience, and most importantly, a sustainable business model that can actually grow. Hey, before we move on, I just want to say that if you are a clothing brand owner and you want to jump into the specifics of your brand and how to grow it profitably, you can schedule a free 45-minute strategy session with us. There are limited spots. So if you have time right now, click on the link in the description below to schedule your call. So now that we understand the pillars, now that we understand the costs, let's talk about what's happening in the market, right? Because I think that's also another factor that needs to be brought in to the whole equation, right? So you can't just price your products in a vacuum, right? Other brands exist out there. Even if you think that you're the most unique brand out there, there are other brands that are competing against you, right? At the end of the day, people have millions of options to buy clothing online. So you need to know what's happening in your particular space. So let's start with more of a competitive analysis, right? I'm going to show you exactly how we do this for some of our clients. First, we want to identify your top 5 competitors, and I mean real competitors, not just brands that you admire or that are kind of close to what you're doing, right? If you're selling a streetwear, right, at maybe $40, $60 per t-shirt, don't compare yourself to Supreme, right? Like, you look for brands that are slightly ahead of where you want to be within the next, say, 12 months. And then you want to go to their website, you want to add products to cart, you want to sign up to their email list, but don't purchase. And trust me, you'll start getting their promotional emails. You'll see exactly how they price and discount their products throughout the year. Pay attention to their full price strategy, their sales cycles, how they bundle products, if they do bundles, how do they treat, how they do influencers. Like, all of this is going to be an absolute gold mine for you and your business. Now let's talk about value positioning. This is where you really make your money, right? We had a client who was making incredible hand-printed t-shirts, but pricing them same as mass-produced ones, right? People using Printful or Printify. Why? That's because they were scared to charge more. So what we did, we helped them restructure their pricing to reflect true value. And guess what? Sales actually increased for them. So here's how you justify higher prices. You want to make sure that you document everything that makes your product special. Are you using organic cotton? That's worth mentioning. Are your hand-printed designs? That matters. Your local production, like, people care about that. Your price isn't just about the product. It's about telling the whole story. And I think also something very quickly, like when it comes to documenting too, it's like if you can get pictures and videos while you're documenting what makes your product special, like that's even more powerful, right? The ability to show visuals on your production of your products on your website, on an about page, on a product page, on the home, like that's just amazing to have. There's also something known as collection pricing, and This is more of a kind of like a good, better, best strategy. Let me just show you how that works, right? So like if you're a streetwear brand, you may look something like this, where you have some maybe basic tees on your store, and the entry point is $35 to $45. Then you have some graphic tees. These are mid-tier, $45 to $60. Maybe you have some cut and sew pieces. Premium tier, $60 to $85, right? Like you want to create some sort of tiered approach, and it does two things. It gives customers options, obviously, and it makes your mid-tier pricing look a lot more attractive, right? We kind of call this the golden middle strategy, where sure, you might have these outliers over here, but what I really want you to buy is these ones in the middle. Brands have used this for years. Also, I don't want you to forget about bundles, right? We've seen conversion rates increase by 20-30% when brands offer smart bundles, right? Something as simple as like buy two, save 10% off, right? That can work wonders. But maybe you can even get more creative. Maybe it's like a complete the outfit bundle, right? Or maybe a seasonal capsule collection. This is actually a real example. One of our clients was struggling to sell hoodies at $85 each, but then we created a street style bundle. So it was one hoodie, one t-shirt, and one hat for $135. Not only did they start selling more hoodies, that their average order value overall increased by 30-40%, which is absolutely amazing. I think the key when it comes to pricing is to stay somewhat flexible, right? Your pricing strategy isn't set in stone, and we recommend reviewing and adjusting, I would say almost every quarter, just based on customer feedback, sales data, what your competitors are doing, market trends, everything. And also remember, like, costs are going to change. Those production costs that we talked about in the beginning, shipping costs, like all those numbers are going to change, and you need to be able to adjust with those, right? The brands that win are the ones that are staying adaptable while maintaining their core value proposition. So if this video actually helped you think a little bit differently about pricing your clothing line, then I want you to hit that like button. I want you to subscribe, and I want you to take something from this video and actually implement it right now. I don't want you to go watch the next one. Although Franklin's probably gonna hate me for this, but I want you to implement right now. So go do that. All right, see you in the next one. Bye.